Hello, everyone. Miss Welch is going to walk you through our digital notebook. So for our digital notebook, you will need to have read the story Button, which you can find a link to right here. It's going to bring you to a PDF of our story. So that link should work whether or not Schoology is working, whether or not Common Lit is working. You should have access to the story from there. After refamiliarizing yourselves with our short story, what you're going to do next is you're going to work through each one of these slides. Ms. Welch is going to explain what you're doing on pretty much each slide, and then I'm just going to ask that you refer back to this video when you need to know what to do for each slide. The first slide that you need to complete is this brainstorming slide. The first question you're going to need to answer is, in your own opinion, what makes a good story or storyteller? So it does say in your opinion. So you are allowed to say I think, and I'm looking for about 2 to 3 sentences here. And then the next thing it wants you to do is it wants you to read this quote. And then in your own words, they want you to describe what this quote is saying about how and why short stories can be powerful. This next slide is the rating slide. You're going to start by rating our button story on a scale of 1 to 5, and you're just going to highlight what answer you want to give. I would say 5 out of 5 stars. It had me the whole time. Then down here, it says, did you enjoy the story? Why or why not? I'm looking for at least 2 solid reasons why you disliked or liked our story. So your response should be about 4 to 5 sentences. This slide right here is the slide that is really starting to jump into the storytelling part of it. What this wants you to do is it wants you to identify the exposition, which is the part of the story where they set up everything, introduce the characters, and the main conflict. They want you to identify the rising actions, what led up to the climax, the turning point, the point of the utmost intensity, the falling actions, so the events that occur after the climax, and the resolution, how was the problem or conflict resolved. If you guys struggle with this, in our short story folder that I have right here, I have this introduction to short stories link, and it's a cheat sheet of notes that you guys can use to help you out with this digital notebook. The next page that you guys will need to work on is the setting. You're going to need to describe what is the setting of the story, so that is when and where. And I'm looking for complete sentences here for this setting box. For the conflict box, you want to list all major and minor conflicts in the story. So remember, the big conflict should be the major conflict that is the story's plotline. And then any minor conflicts, they could be conflicts between characters, they could be conflicts within themselves. You need to think, is there one object or one thing versus another, then that would be a conflict. This slide has you taking a deeper look at our characters in the story. So our main characters are Norma Lewis and Arthur Lewis. First, you're going to want to list some adjectives that you would use to describe these characters. What would you say about what type of person they are? And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of those traits and you're going to go back into the story and look for a quote that proves that trait. So for example, if I was going to say that Norma Lewis was kind, I would have to go back in the text and find an example of her being kind to prove it. And you guys will repeat the same process with Arthur Lewis as well. The literary devices page, they want you to find examples of foreshadowing where they're hinting at what Norma's final decision is going to be. So I'm looking for one example here, but I want you to pick the line that, like, as soon as you read it, you knew. And then for irony, you want to explain how the ending is ironic, and you can find the definition of situational irony in that cheat sheet I showed you before.